Hi, everyone. Welcome to Brownish Parenting with Dr. Amita on Ruckus Avenue Radio. This show unveils modern Desi parenting topics and explores the latest research on raising our bicultural children. Today, we're going to be exploring South Asian parental expectations and how that influences a child's future in terms of the friendships that they pursue, the intimate relationships they pursue, as well as future life goals and opportunities. More specifically, I want to explore how parental guilt plays a role in a child's life. How do children make sense of what their parents approve of or don't approve of? And how do we tap into what that feels like and looks like when we go against traditional South Asian cultural norms? So, why is it important to talk about parental expectations and parental guilt? So much of what children do is for the approval of their parents. They want to make them proud. They've been raised to be obedient and respectful and to listen to their elders. So, South Asian children grow up with this script, oftentimes where their parents tell them how much they've sacrificed for them by moving to this new country, leaving their families to be able to provide these better opportunities, that the least they expect from their children is that they will do something when they're told, or if a parent disapproves of something, they will not do it. Now, why do parents use guilt? Well, simply put, it works. And because parents often have not been taught other ways to get their children to do what they say. And when they do use this guilt, children often feel that they have to prove their worth for all the sacrifices that their parents made for them. And so when we think about this idea of proving your worth, this is constantly changing. And it's not just one thing that you do that's proven your worth in society and in the community. So when you're growing up, it can be school and getting those good grades. In college, it can mean choosing that traditional career path that your parents approve of. But then what? Well, then it's about getting married and finding that right partner, that right South Asian partner, oftentimes. Then there's this right age to have children. So as you can see, that list goes on. And if norms are not followed, usually these guilt tactics are used. And so I want us to think more about that parent-child relationship, because by using parental guilt, parents in the short term do often get their children to do what they want. But it comes at a steep cost because it leads to these long-term consequences of resentment, because children are not able to do what they want to do. And this impacts that parent-child relationship. When parents use guilt, children feel forced to make decisions they would not have made on their own. And this keeps them from living fulfilling lives and often leads them to have mental health issues down the line. Sarah Ahmed, co-founder of the Wellness Psychotherapy, writes about South Asians and guilt culture and how South Asian American parents also use guilt to promote socially accepted behavior for their children to stay within the boundaries of cultural norms. This can happen in direct or indirect ways. Oftentimes, parents use guilt to remind them of the norms and consequences that happen if you break them. For example, they say things like, "Why are you doing this to me?" Or "Why are you doing this to our family?" When in reality, the child's not doing this to harm their parents or their family. It's because they have their own unique individual needs, desires, opinions that are going to be different from their family's needs, desires, and expectations of them. The consequences are often log kya kahenge? What will others think? And children of immigrants grew up in America, so they were raised to think about their lives in very different ways and to think about what their own interests are, what their own desires are, what they want to pursue when it comes to major life decisions that are going to determine their day-to-day well-being, like the career you're going to pursue, the person you're going to marry, where you're going to live. Oftentimes, when they do try to pursue what they want to pursue indirectly, they may get passive-aggressive comments from their parents. Sometimes this can be as simple as when a child wants to go hang out with their friends, a parent might seem like they're in a bad mood. They may give them the silent treatment, or they may change their behavior towards them for going out and not spending time with them or their siblings that are at home. Since our culture prioritizes family loyalty, obedience to elders, self-sacrifice, and family obligations, This makes it difficult to do things that are outside of that norm or that box. When individuals do try to do something that's outside, elders in the community may feel threatened that their culture, their traditions, their values are being lost. And what happens when we face guilt on a daily basis is that soon you start to internalize that guilt and then you start to guilt yourself. And so Sarah Ahmed notes that this leads to the immigrant child complex. Let's pause for a break. And when we come back, we're going to meet our guest, Meghana Kamdar. She's a lifestyle transformation coach, and she's going to help us understand how she navigated these traditional South Asian norms to live her life on her own terms. Welcome back. We left off talking about why it's important to address parental expectations and guilt. So let's go ahead and introduce our featured guest who's going to help us really contextualize this topic. Today, we have our guest, Meghana Kamdar. She helps her ambitious clients manage their family and responsibilities by creating a life of more freedom, designed for more living with less compromise so that they can become even better parents. As a wife, mother of three, entrepreneur, coach, and expatriate living in Lisbon, Portugal, she believes each of us has the ability to soar above limitations regardless of the weight of responsibilities. While once overwhelmed by family and work obligations, causing a period of mental and physical burnout, she now is the author of her own path, in charge of both her financial means and her time. Today, she has built a life of incredible freedoms, one free from judgment, geography, and also free to unfold as she chooses. She believes that each of us, especially parents, have the responsibility to ourselves to be committed and courageous enough to imagine and execute on our boldest dreams, no matter how big and wild. This is part of her signature method towards Your Life Uncharted. To learn more about Meghana and how to work with her, head to thelifeuncharted.com. Meghana, thank you so much for being here today and talking to us more about just your upbringing, how you navigated your own path, your life uncharted. I wanted to first just give our audience members an understanding of your childhood, which is very similar to my childhood because we both grew up in the same neighborhood, walking distance. Our dads had the same jobs, right? They both worked at PG&E, but you could tell us a little bit more about just how you grew up and what relationships were like for you at home.
Ooh, Amita, this is so great. I'm so glad I could be a guest with you and on
Yeah.
your show and to share my story with your audience. Because we do have such history and it's exciting to be here with you,
Yeah.
Dr. Amita. Yeah, we do share a lot in common. I mean, you're asking me like things I haven't even dug back into my past. It's so fun to do it on the show because I think it really does show just how much we've come from those places, that place of in our family home, feeling very much like, how do I navigate, this world inside my home and the world that's outside?
Mm-hmm.
I remember having to like really think about that carefully. What image I presented my parents. They have social
Yeah.
expectations of me being, Indian and also being American, because there were like
Mm-hmm.
expectations that they held of me as an American born too
Yeah.
child, right? There was a lot that they, as immigrants, had put on us, this first generation, kind of raising the first generation in the United States. So, I mean, I think of my dad being really more like having a bigger challenge for him because I think he held a lot of this modernist ideas. Like, I'm going to raise my daughter very modern. Like, I remember him being very proud of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's a 21st century woman growing up in the United States and California. So I think there was a lot of this like ideas of like, how can I raise like these modern girls? But in the same token, I think he definitely held so many values that were very traditional for girls, like
Yeah.
seeing who he is and how
Mm-hmm.
he's been brought up to see the view of women in his household.
Yeah.
It was very conflicting for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we get a lot of images and we get images from media of what is an American family like and what kinds of access like rights that girls have growing up, like white girls have versus the
Yeah.
rest of
Yeah.
us. And so definitely those things were always very tough to navigate. But I do want to give my parents a lot of credit because
Mm-hmm.
they did such a great job given what they knew at the time
Mm-hmm.
in a new country. building the support around them among other Desis like us, and
Yeah.
so I think they really did amazing because it did take quite a bit from their end to like try and figure out how to live in the United States. So I do want to give them a lot of respect and gratitude for what they have been given me. And the thing is, like I think about it a lot, like as an immigrant, I think they came to the US to give them the things that they didn't get access to,
Mm-hmm.
especially as
Yeah.
girls. And so I think it was up to me, actually, for me to like
Yeah.
embrace those things,
Yeah.
like having a lot of the choices that my mother would never have had in her childhood, right? Or as an
Yeah.
adult, she never got. But I feel like that's kind of, it was my in sort of inherent obligation
Mm-hmm.
to give life to like the things that she might not have been able to do that maybe she secretly always wanted.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was my power also to like
Mm-hmm.
be that person, like be bigger than what is kind of like expected in some ways, even if it rocks the boat a lot.
And yeah, so you think back to your childhood and how, we were living in these uncharted territories back then, really
Mm-hmm.
being the first generation to have been born and raised here and trying to figure out how do we do what we want to do, but also live within the rules and guidelines of what our parents want for us. And I know a story that's forever sketched in my mind is us coming back. I think you know what story I'm talking about, where we came back home after curfew. We were planning to be back before curfew, but somebody had parked their car behind your car. And so we were very, very late. And we turned the corner. You're about to drop me off at my house. And we both screamed so loud because my dad is standing there in his bathrobe waiting to confront
Oh, you
us.
look,
Because this was before
yeah,
cell phones. He knew we were going to
for
be
cell
late, but
phones.
he wasn't sure what was going on. And he wanted to see who I was coming home with. And all you said was, I'm going to be in so much trouble when I get home because you knew exactly what was going on because our upbringing was so similar in that way. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Meghana more about her decision to get married to Ben, who was someone that her parents did not approve of at first. We're going to start by talking about your relationship first and this term, Blindian, that has become more popularized in social media. And it talks about the difficult challenges Black and Indian couples face. And so the Blindian Project is really trying to help reduce that stigma that Black and Indian couples face. It's trying to normalize relationships and just dismantle anti-Blackness within South Asian American communities. And so I thought we'd start by just talking about when you first met Ben, who's Black, and started maybe
Mhm.
dating and what happened there, like in terms
Yeah.
of, yeah, just your relationship.
Yeah. I mean, like I was in college at UC Santa Barbara, and Ben had joined the Indus, like the Indian student body group, like the student
That's
community.
awesome. Yes.
And his best friend and roommate is a Punjabi guy
Uh-huh.
that I had already known in at school, because they're really at Santa Barbara there was like a handful of like Indian people. So we kind of knew each other. So he was always asking his roommate about like, who's that? Where do you go every day? And then he was like, oh, and go and talk to her if you want to find out where I go. And so basically, he was going and leaving and doing dance, like doing the Indus show kind of dance practices with our whole group and with me. And so then Ben became curious and like was very interested in joining some of the dances. So we kind of always saw each other in passing, and like there was always like this spark, I would say, like
Yeah.
curiosity of like, oh, okay, you can feel like someone's energy. Then we got to become really good friends and got to know each other, and the energy that we had together, the chemistry. And so we got to know each other and we got to like each other quite a bit. And then decided like let's get together sophomore year, the end of sophomore year. And then junior year I went to study abroad in England. So like I
Yeah.
didn't see like anything more, like I wanted to pursue relationship with him, but there really was no way of knowing at age 21 what things would look like age 20, really.
Yeah.
But once I came back and we stayed in touch, it was clear that we wanted to be together. And me thinking that I have this modern dad that who he presents very modern. Like I say modern in the way that my dad is like, I would say not very religious, not
Nice.
like a religious
Mhm.
person, like not a organized religion. He might even consider himself like agnostic or an atheist. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
he was never like, to me, he always presented that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm 22. I'm like,
Yeah.
have someone that I really like. My parents are gonna like, they're just gonna accept that, right? Like who I'm dating, because I want them to be aware. Like I'm old enough now. At least in my mind, I was like, let me do this because it'll show them that I'm matured. Like I'm making
Yeah.
my own decisions now. I'm old enough. I'm doing well in school. All the good things, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is who I'm becoming. They should be part of that. So
Yeah.
I presented it in that way. And my parents had seen him so many times because he was dancing in all of the shows.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I told them that, it was like the shock of my life because they were just like, oh, we're just not going to accept that, that you're going to be dating him. So you better cut it off. And if you don't, we're going to cut you off from
And
school.
did you, like, before dating him, did you know that they would react this way at all? Like, did you ever hear any
You
messages, like, messaging or anything from them related to that?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, going to college, my dad was like driving to college, dropping me off. You might have heard the story and was like very, like, in the last moment that he had his daughter in his clutches, told
Mhm.
me like not to date Black and Muslim. And
Yes.
I was just like,
Yeah.
whatever, dad, get me out of this car.
Yeah.
Didn't even phase me. I was like, okay, I'm out. Like, I need to be out of this car. Like, the discomfort of like that moment was just like, I don't even want to hear what you're saying.
Mhm.
Right. But he
Yeah.
did make himself clear. But like, like I
That's so
never
common in the South Asian
took it.
community to be told that.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's like I didn't have this mission
Mhm.
to like defy him, but I was also in a mindset that my parents are educated, modern.
Yeah.
They may not know him yet, but they
Hmm.
will get to know him. And
Yes.
then it's like this is somebody I really like. It's not somebody like just casual. So this
And
is
I've
like
heard,
this.
yeah, and as I've been just reading up on Blindian couples and things, challenges and struggles, like I've heard that from these couples that say that initially when they told their parents, they felt like they were being gaslighted or stonewalled,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I mean, because like that's not
yeah,
how you present.
yeah,
You didn't present to me like that.
yeah,
And I don't know for them like what that meant either. They might have just heard things being like,
yeah,
you should talk to your kids like that. You should tell them like
yeah,
no if there's
mhm,
like they may not have known the tools and ways to talk to me either, right? Obviously
yeah. So that was
about
the
it or
initial
not
reaction.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like impulsive kind of reaction. But to me, I was like, that was not healthy.
Mhm.
And so I hid it forever and then was really struggling with the shame and then like find like a fine line of like, should I go for what I want or should I make my parents happy? And that also led me to believe, do I really want this? Like, how bad do I want to be in this relationship at all? Right. So
Mhm.
not even the relationship or what dynamic was happening between us, but the fact that like how my parents felt was also starting to like shape how I felt about him too, right?
Yeah,
Like in a way
yeah,
that I didn't want. Also, I was like, wait a second, I'm in the relationship. My parents aren't in the relationship. I'm
yeah.
in the relationship. So it's like, is this the kind of person, the qualities that I want? Like,
uh,
and at that time, I mean, it was like there was no reason. Like
mhm.
I couldn't even want to be like I had traveled across the world. I was living abroad. I went to New York then to get my master's degree. Like it continued. The relationship continued, right?
Yeah,
It's like it
yeah,
was clear to me I didn't want to be without this person in my life.
yeah.
So, but for years it was a lot of shame. I was hiding it. I wasn't out about it. And then there was a time finally, like Ben, mature as he is, because he
Mhm.
kind of took the lead and was like, so what's happening? Like, if you don't come out and like, if we
Yeah,
don't come to your parents and like make this public and make this known, because I don't want to be that person in shame like
yeah,
anymore. I'm not
mhm.
behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I don't want to be doing that, playing that game anymore. Like we should be front and proud of what we have, this love.
yeah.
And if you don't feel that way, then tell me now because I'm gonna move on.
Mhm.
Right. Like he pretty much had to like sit me down and be like, you need to be a big girl now. It's time to grow up.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was hard for me in my 20s,
Mhm.
really insecure, really emotionally immature, like really did not have the skills to like talk to my parents about who I
Yeah.
want, who I am. None of that, right? So that
Mhm.
was a big shock. And that was really hard for me to talk to them. So I basically I did the
Yeah.
same thing my dad did, like drop the line, like, hey, we're still together, we're pretty serious, we're together. And then boom, I was flying on a flight across the country to go to grad school.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to come like kind of deal with the aftermath of what that was in the immediate.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like,
Oh,
here's
that,
the
yeah,
like
that
security
that's like a
gate,
good
and by
plan,
the
actually. Yeah, yeah, because they may need time to process as well. You need time, right?
way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess like if you're thinking back to that, because I remember, that's that time period for you. And if you
Yeah.
think about the people that the audience members that are listening today, our listeners, and if there's somebody that is struggling with this, what advice would you give them today, going through what you've been through?
So many things. Your
Yeah.
parents will always love you. I mean, this is your life. It's like
Mm-hmm.
your parents have their role to be your parent and love you unconditionally.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have provided a lot, but you don't owe them your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so as long as you love and accept you and yourself and your decisions,
Hmm.
I mean, that's the biggest approval you ever will have you will ever want in this lifetime. And
Yeah.
you can accept you, then it's on them to whether they will or not.
Yeah.
But it's like I couldn't let myself down in that big of a way, right?
Yes.
This wasn't
Yeah.
just the love that I
Mhm.
wanted to live, like the love that I wanted in my life. This was also me not letting myself down.
Yeah.
Because like I would have lived with that regret forever.
Yeah.
That like I had love in my life, the
Mhm.
true love, and I let it go. And
Yeah.
if you're willing to let it go and you're okay with that, then that's your choice. But
Yeah.
my choice was like, I don't think I could let it go ever.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna fight for this. I'm gonna stand up for who I am, what I believe in. And I don't believe that somebody should be judged that way just by their skin color either.
Yeah.
So it was
No.
like a lot of values there that I had to present for myself, like stand up to. And if they wanted to be on board with that or they didn't, I was okay with that too. I had to kind of let that go too. And
Yeah.
for many parts of my life, like I've never fully had felt like I had their approval anyway.
Mhm.
So I was like, if I let them down now, if I let them take over now, it'll just never end. They're like, well, you don't have this job, or you're not living in this neighborhood, or
Mhm.
you're not sending your kids to this school, or you're not having enough kids, or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
would just never end. And I was like, not gonna let that be
Yes.
the
And I
story of
think
my life.
thinking back, because I know you said you said that it took a while for you to get there, and then it was that conversation with Ben that got you to then have that conversation with your parents. Do you feel like now looking back, maybe you would have had that sooner? And like,
Oh yeah,
right?
I wasted a lot of years. Like the
Yeah.
dating for us was like 10 years.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
got married at 10 years of on and off relationship of figuring this out. I spent 10 years.
Yeah.
That to me
Yeah.
sounds crazy right now. I
I
thought
know.
10 years.
I know. Like reflecting back on this, right? And also just how you were talking about separating their thoughts and, their wishes, expectations of you from your own and what you wanted in your life, what your values were.
Yeah,
Um, all of that is
yeah,
so insightful. I can't even tell you to think through for someone else that's going through this. What did they
yeah,
want? What are their values? Separate that, but also,
yeah,
um, yeah, just do it, right? Like you were saying, do it, have a plan for saying it,
yeah,
and then then
yeah,
dealing with the aftermath, right? Which I'm sure you did. I'm sure you had multiple
yeah,
conversations.
yeah. It's going to be uncomfortable either way,
Yeah,
but I was not gonna let the discomfort of not standing up for me
yeah,
like kind of rot my soul.
yes,
It would really eat away at me for my whole
yes,
lifetime. It really would have, and that would never be the end of it. That would have been just like the next decision,
yeah, yeah.
giving up my power. And I feel like I
Hmm.
would have mentally just, poof, I don't
Yeah.
even think what would
Wow.
have happened.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. Welcome back to Brownish Parenting with Dr. Amita. We are now going to talk to Meghna a little bit more about motherhood, becoming a parent, and wanting to do things differently for your own family. So, if you could first just tell us a little bit more about motherhood and how
Yeah.
the move came about to Portugal, really.
I mean, I have to say, like, all the work that I kind of went through, I described just fighting for who I am, like that
Yeah.
acceptance, the self acceptance first, and then to be putting it out there really helped me set me up because motherhood is even bigger, like such a bigger shift, I would say, for me. Like, so many things I discovered about myself. that like I'm glad that I had kind of accepted parts of me in that in my relationship and I had stood up for me
Yeah,
because oh my God, motherhood is a shock to the system, like in a lot of ways.
it is. Yeah.
And I didn't stop with one. I have three, and they're very close in age. So it was kind of really motherhood was a huge period of like I would say in my in a lot of ways. The start was that I was at my the bottom in a way of me myself, spiritually, mentally, physically, exhausted. And because again, the culture stuff comes up for me. I had in a cultural expectation that my parents would help out way more to raise
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah.
Because that's something I saw in the South Asian community among my other friends that were my same cohort. But I thought that was a true value, like family, like you come through, you help out. But so that was another shock. Like the ideas of culture and the expectations from India also transmit the other way, where I was like, why aren't you behaving like the Indian parent I thought you
Yes.
would be as the
Yes.
grandparent?
That's so true.
So it goes both ways, right?
Yes.
So I did kind of have this thought that my mom would magically want to retire, help
Mhm.
raise her grandkids alongside me. I even moved to the same town, I moved to Concord with to be
Yeah.
close to them for a
Uh-huh.
period, only to realize that they're so here's the thing with being so like being Indian and like having that identity and being American. What I've come to learn is the American side that speaks most to my parents is that of capitalism, is of like making money, you work, you make money, like that is really important
Yes.
to their identity, even like very
Yeah.
much like because basically like because in confronted with motherhood and having multiple young children at the like very close in age, I needed support at home, so I was either going to have to pay for somebody and so I could work, or I decided to stay home, which I did. But immediately I was struck with like all the questions about like, well, how come you're staying home? You're giving away your education, you're throwing away your career, you should be working, making money, you should have somebody else come and take care of your kids. My
Mhm.
expectation was that one of my
Yeah.
mother-in-laws would come
Yeah. It
step
would.
in.
Mhm.
But that didn't happen. My mom was like, well, I need to still work.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, I was like, so I'm letting you continue to work. So I'm going to stay home and raise my own kids. But
Yeah.
it was that shock of like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, like what happened to the Indian value of like really coming together and supporting your
Mhm.
family? Because that to me, I thought would be apparent. And on my mother-in-law is she's actually my husband's Black American raised in the United States. His mother is actually from Kenya. She's
Yeah.
Kenyan. So I had this hope that she would also step up too, as it's a
Yeah. You hear
Kenyan
about it,
and
right? These
African
collectivistic
culture.
families. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're modern grandmas. These
Yeah.
modern
Yeah.
grandmas are like, I got lives, I make money, like I
Totally.
like to have my flexibility. I'm not trying to be grandma full time. So in
Yeah.
that was a lot of shocks, I guess, in my system.
Yes.
And that like, but then I had to also say, like, I chose to be parent to three
Huh?
beautiful babies. They came into my life and they showed me that like I I put a lot of emphasis on like finding fulfillment. Now that I left my job, which was unfulfilling anyways, I was
Yeah.
like, but motherhood will be fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I have three of them. So then I'm looking around and I'm like, I'm really not that fulfilled in this motherhood role, like full
Yeah.
time. This is
Yes.
really
There's ups
actually
and
not
downs for sure. Yes.
for me full
Yeah.
time, right? I need that other thing outside of
Uh,
this raising kids. And but I had really placed so much emphasis on like they would help me feel happy and fulfilled, right? I think I said
yeah.
this, it's like it's not their job though, right? It was
Yeah.
like it's not their I couldn't believe that. Once I became aware of it, I was like, I can't believe I'm putting that much like responsibility on them to make
I
me
love
happy.
that. Yes, I love how you just said that, right? It's not their job to fulfill you or to make you happy. And so
Yeah. And
that,
that really made me like
yeah,
when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, like I'm doing like I'm undermining our very relationship because if I'm expecting them to make me happy, like I'll never like actually be happy in this role
yeah,
because I felt like burdened in so many different ways, like pushed to be in this position at being at home, but not because it was my choice.
Mhm.
But I really did put that much pressure on them, right? And I was so a lot of these emotions I had to work through. It took a long time just to uncover and admit the pain of like, oh, I am really resenting my children. Like,
Mhm.
like it's because of them I'm like can't work. It's because of them I can't go travel because that's
Yeah.
another passion of mine. It's because
Yeah.
of them I'm not living out that other life. And
Mhm.
that actually creates a division in our relationship, a resentment that
Yeah.
keeps us from bonding. And that to me, once I realized how I was hurting our relationship too, it was like, wow, I'm like really undermining the very point of like this whole existence that I have, right? It's like I want for more than anything in the world to have this great relationship with my kids. So then it was like it was that was the big awakening as well. So that all came through that early stage of motherhood.
Wow. That's a lot to, think through your own identity and what will fulfill you after being a mother, which a lot of us go through. It's because
Yeah.
it's so time consuming and it's 24/7. It's physically demanding, psychologically demanding. So to then also navigate this whole process of what do I want to do next? Like what
Yeah.
do I do next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really had to sit with like, who do I want to be now?
Yeah.
Like, not even what do I do, but like, who do I want to be in this stage of life?
Yeah.
Who do I want to be for me? How do I want to show up as a parent to my children? Like, do I want to show up
Mhm.
half-assed, like
Yeah.
exhausted, not giving it my all?
Yeah, mindlessly just doing what you need to do to get
Yeah,
through
just
the
on
day. Yeah,
autopilot, getting them
yeah,
to bed and then pushing along to the next day. And I was like, definitely not any of that. I wanted them to see me like soar. I wanted them to see me like excited about life, like having a sense of adventure that was
yeah.
always in me, like going traveling, like
I
going
know,
to
yeah.
other parts of the world that excite me and interest me. Getting to see me also be like my philosophy is really about me creating my life, being
Mhm.
not just making money but being able to create the money for me with my skills and my entrepreneurial spirit as well as this
Yeah.
wondrous like traveling spirit. So it's like all those things I was like, how can I think of this as a winning scenario,
Mhm.
um, as this point of being a mother to three beautiful children, right? I can see
Yeah,
them as my true inspiration. I can actually see like all the things that they give me and that playfulness and that like moment to slow down and be present and not to be just like trying to pass through the day. Like how do I take this moment to just really make it beautiful in this stage of life?
yeah.
And I started to think about that more and more
And then was there at
to
any
help
point
me.
did you feel like, because I know you did the move to Portugal. At
Well,
any point,
so
yeah, go
that
ahead.
was like birthed in this period, right? It was
Okay.
like under these premises of like, what's a winning scenario? What's like the ultimate big dream for me to be able to like have the life that I really want, where I have time for myself. I have time to like work out, prioritize my mental, physical health, have time for friendships, have time to build my business the way I speak of, like to be able to be create my future, create my life,
Yeah.
and therefore the future I really want. Right. I was like, how can I do all of this and like not feel the pressure either?
Yeah.
Like making money all the time, right? It's expensive to live in the Bay.
Yeah.
And then it's like I really sat with all that and I was like, I just have these big dreams of living abroad, and they will never die. Because I
Yeah.
tried and I tried and I tried and it didn't
I know.
work.
I think like
And
you have
then
the wanderlust gene, right? That like because
explore,
since
yeah.
I've known you, like it's always been about like, yeah, like traveling, new experiences and all of that. And so I think that's great
Yeah.
that you like really tuned into that. And for a
Yeah.
while you were saying you're pushing it off, pushing it off, pushing it off, but it's been there. It's been in you.
It's always been in part of
Yeah.
me. Like I can
Yeah.
remember it as a kid, like
Your
how
study abroad
exciting.
program. Yeah. Like all of it. You guys
Every
were
chance I
then, yeah, when the
got.
kids were really young, right?
Oh yeah, I went with all three when my youngest was 10 months. I had a 10-month-old, a 2-year-old,
Wow.
and a 5-year-old, I think. So she two or three, yeah, 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But but my husband's family was like originally from there, so they had family home there. Like, it was like that was an actually easier trip than some of the others where, I had to figure it out on my own a lot.
Yeah.
And
And I guess that's what
yeah.
I was going to ask. Like, did it ever just seem sort of like impossible in your head? Like you were just like, how am I going to do all of
Oh,
this with the
forever.
kids and moving
Oh,
abroad?
I mean,
Yeah.
1000% forever. That's why I never like that's why it took me as long as it did until in my head it switched and I was like, I can think different ways. I can look at this very differently. I can think of all of this as a way, a possibility. I started to really make that switch. It was like, no, you know what? I'm going to fully embrace this. I don't have the how figured out,
Yeah.
but we're going to figure it out. Like if it's Cambodia, if it's
Yeah.
about saving money, there's places in the world we can live on the budget that we had, which was through real estate. We had enough money coming monthly to
Hmm.
figure out how to make it work elsewhere. We just set up we set up the support to run it, like managers and
Yeah.
like have it run a more auto,
Hmm.
then we would have that be our income and we could go anywhere in the world. But it just so happened that we visited Portugal and it really felt like that was the place for us, the right place. We
Yeah.
could be in rural Portugal, make it work, but we chose to be in the city to give up car life, to be walking more. We're in a very small apartment, like 1,100 square foot, three kids. But
Hmm.
the point is like we can go out and there's a parks, cafes, restaurants, like everything right in front of our door,
Yeah.
pretty much, without the noise.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't come to this like it was always evolving in
Hmm.
me. And once I made the switch in my mind that like I am the right person to do it. This is the right time.
Yeah.
Once I let go of like, I can't do it because I don't have enough money. I don't have the right career. I have too many kids, or the kids are too young, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, whatever it was. And
Yeah.
I let go of all the I can't. And I'm
Hmm.
just going to see my situation. This is my life. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make everything work
Wow.
within what I can. And it
Yeah.
really starts there. It really, the power of like the thoughts, the belief work I did, the visioning I do, the meditation, all of this practice like made me see it. And in 6 months, we pretty much made the move, like the actual action time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like 15 years of ruminating. Like, how? And then it was
So
6 months of action.
yeah, yeah, that's amazing to think through that, right? Like the how short that action period was compared to
It
just
was
that
because I
process of
made that commitment. I like made that
the
switch
switch. Tell me about
in
the
a belief.
switch now. Like, how did the switch go off? I feel like,
Right? I mean, I was sick of just like telling myself I can't do these things. I was sick of that story. I was like, that's not getting me anywhere. I know what I have. I know the life I have, and I don't mind living in California. Nothing was wrong with my life. I just wanted more other things that I didn't get
yeah,
to experience daily
yeah,
in my life. And yeah, I think it was just like, let me just try something totally different because I really want this. I
yeah,
really want this.
yeah.
And I speaked it into existence. Like I would tell people, random people, people in my circles, and they were just like, oh, how do you do that? How can you? You're not European. It's like, I don't know yet, but I'm going to do it. It
Yeah.
almost was like so
Yeah.
clear that I just like wasn't going to entertain another thought, an
Uh-huh.
alternative
And was
at
it, yeah,
all.
how about for your like your parents, your mother-in-law? Like was that
Hmm.
it was
Of
were
course,
you
they're like, this
worried
lady's
about like
nuts.
that they were
No, of
happy or
course.
yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
everything in their life has been geared towards living in the United States, right? We have
Yes.
immigrant parents, like
That's what,
every
yeah.
single
Like you don't hear
decision
about like families
they
that move, like they moved here like for better opportunities. And so they were like, we made that sacrifice. Like this is what we're doing for, and we're gonna, send money back home or whatever it was. So they kind of like had this in their mind of like, okay, this is sort of what we're doing. And then I just think about South Asian families here that are, like thinking about your story and moving out abroad to a place where there isn't family, but also again for better opportunities, right? For your own
yeah,
family.
for better
Yeah,
life opportunities,
life
I would say.
opportunities.
Not, I mean, it's stuff, the opportunities are also going to be lucrative in my mind too. But right now, the first decision was to do it for a better life, slow
Yeah. Mhm.
down, like having quality time for
Yes.
ourselves, time with the kids, time while they're young enough and they want to be around us. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I had that urgency. I guess the activation, like the switch was kind of an activation around urgency too. I was like, I don't have all day. Like, I only have my kids with me for a certain
Yeah,
period of life
yeah, yeah,
and then they're gone. I
yeah.
think that was that part of that vision too. Was like if I don't do it now, I don't feel like I'm ever going to do it. And it was good that we did because a month later, it was COVID. started.
I remember. Yes, yes.
So
And
I
you
was
were
like,
this is what I'm saying. You're
ooh,
pre-COVID where you decided to make this move because you do hear about
yeah,
people make a lot of people made moves during COVID. But I always think back to your story because it was pre-COVID
it
when
was
you,
pre.
yeah,
None of that was even
mm,
on the radar, and none
yeah,
of us had remote jobs.
yeah,
So, yeah, I'm just glad I did it when I did because who knows? Like, you never know. There's never a right time. I talk about that
yeah,
too. There's no such thing as right time. You just decide, and that's the right time
yeah.
when you
And then
decide.
yeah, how did you get your parents like were they on did you have to explain all this to them like these life opportunities or was it sort of just like now
My
they get it,
parents,
I think, right? Like they
I
visit you, I feel
mean,
like they get
it
it.
was
Yeah.
it was an evolution because my
Uh-huh.
parents, like all parents, are gonna have that same reaction. I mean, everything I'd already led them through in my life, all my decisions, they were always like, "What's again? Like again, you're gonna do this crazy thing like we don't agree with."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, well here I go," because I had already practiced this so
Yeah.
many times
You get
starting with
yeah,
my
you get stronger every
relationship. So
single
I was
time,
just
right? Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, every time I'm just like, I already know your reaction. I respect it in a way,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Um,
That's
so
awesome. Yes.
it wasn't like I think, yeah, in some ways I'm already like conditioned towards it. But
Uh-huh.
in the end, my parents are funny because they'll talk like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? All this worry and like what are people gonna say and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But but in the end they always show up. They're the
Yeah.
parents that like they always love and support in the way they show
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
But they like to talk like,
Uh-huh.
well, if you go do that, we're not gonna, I'm like, like let's see what happens. But my parents, like I said, everything in their life is very much like America, California is the best place to live. Like this is the only place to live on this. Like you end up putting yourself into this like narrow bubble of like
Yes.
there's
Yes.
nothing else out there. There's
Uh-huh.
nothing else worth exploring. And I feel like a lot of Californians suffer from that in a way that they're like, maybe it's not better outside of here, but
Yeah.
maybe there's something else to enjoy and experience and love about it, right? So I was always of that mindset. I was like, I love it here, but I also want to see everything else and see what else is out there. So I think it couldn't have come as a complete surprise to my parents, but living and taking their grandkids is a huge one for them to
Yeah.
like deal with. And they were very much, it was tough.
That
The
yeah.
first 2 years, all I kept hearing from them was like, come back, come back. Like,
Mm,
it can't possibly be better. Like, how can it be? It's poor. Like, you're living in a
mm,
small apartment. And I'm just like, yeah, like your view of it is completely different. I'm experiencing it and I'm telling you, it's actually much easier to raise kids here because we're a family and families are very much admired here actually. Like you walk around in the streets, people want to like affectionately like smile at us and the kids and like want to get to talk to my kids and like invited to like their when they start touching things at the shops, like of course not like dangerous stuff, but like if they're touching clothes or they're touching
yeah.
or they're inquisitive at the restaurant, the shops, whatever, like people really love that. They actually start engaging
Um,
and then like it's just a different environment completely. My kids are like walking to school now. My 10 and 8-year-old walk to school together
yeah.
every day. It's a 5-minute walk, but it's like
Yeah. No, it's
they
like
have
low
such
stress. It's like
independence.
less stressful having them when you know that the
Mhm.
culture is so accepting of kids. And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it feels really, really great. So I think what I'm getting back to the parents is once they made that first trip,
Yes.
I was ready for them to hit me with like all the things they didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And then I was shocked because my dad was just like, it's actually not bad. It's actually nice. He's like,
Yeah.
I kind of get it. Even my mom, she's told me, she's like, I see why you did it. I
Mhm.
see it. And
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. Like in their way, like they're kind of saying that,
Yeah.
like, I accept, I'm
Uh-huh.
proud of it. And in the last year, they're coming every 6 months now.
Yeah.
So, I
They love it.
mean,
Yes.
there's a
Yeah.
reason they're coming,
Yeah.
right? And I know it's
Yeah.
for us, but like
Yeah.
I think they're making a reason every 6 months too. They're like, we could go travel a little bit and then pop in to Lisbon,
Yeah.
and I think they kind of like the change of life here and the pace.
I mean, I just love your story because there aren't very many models that are doing what you're doing. And
There's
so,
nobody.
yeah, right. For South Asians, we don't have these models of families that are moving and, creating a new life for themselves based on these life opportunities. And I tell families here because, I often hear that conversation of how are our kids going to make it here in the Bay Area, like the dual income and how expensive it is to live here. And what are they going to do if they're not prioritizing, certain things? And so it becomes very narrow-minded where like your story and your experiences have really opened it up to, hey, I have a friend that's in Portugal right now and they
Send
are
them. Yeah,
living their
send them.
best lives. They're happy. They're, it's less stressful. They're not in a
Yeah.
rat race. They're not
Yeah.
chasing after sort of that American dream. And so we got to really think about what do our kids want for their lives
Yeah.
and help them do that
Yeah.
early, right? Help them figure that out earlier than later or
Yeah.
project our own wishes and expectations onto them. So we're going to take a break. Welcome back. We are at the end here with Meghna, and I wanted to find out a little bit more about what advice you would have for South Asian American families today that maybe want to redefine what fulfillment looks like for them and how you go about helping other clients that you work with.
So parenting, I guess like the biggest takeaways, because I know this is taking me a lot of unlearning, I would say,
Ah,
in the last 10, 15 years to
mhm.
kind of accept, love, and accept who I am and who I always have been in part. So to encourage parents to like also do the same of like allowing your child to kind of have more autonomy, I guess, as much as you can in their education, right?
Yeah.
Or to help allow them to choose the kinds of direction they want to go with it. I have three kids, and one of them, I might change, we might go in a different path, like towards more homeschool or some of the things that you can feel like self-empowerment, to give them that self-empowerment earlier on, because I think we all already kind of know who we are and who
Yeah.
we want to be. We just
Mhm.
might have been told that that's not acceptable, or that we shouldn't explore those questions because parents or children or the teachers aren't wanting
Yeah.
to explore them.
Hmm.
So I would say like unstructured, like weekends as much as possible, but allowing for the space to like daydream, to play, to be in the moment more. And if we can also, as parents, embrace that a little bit, we can be a model also to them, right? Shut everything off and just kind of like sit and see what thoughts come up. Like, what do you want to do
Yes,
today?
yes. You have to like build in time for that, especially in this digital
You
age.
do.
Yeah,
You do.
yeah,
But then it allows you to have your own thoughts come up in your own voice to see where that leads you.
yeah. I love that. Just having that quiet space and time. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you're doing with Life Uncharted and how people can, if
Yeah.
they want to reach out and this conversation
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, no, I love to support parents, especially
Mhm.
big visionary parents, but parents who are busy in their home and responsibility kind of demands, but that carry big aspirations within them, that are afraid to like maybe take that step,
Mhm.
and to like I love to support them, to guide them through to creating what is most possible for them so they could become more intentional and become even better parents.
Yeah.
It is thelifeuncharted.com.
Uh-huh.
You can get on my mailing list. I send out little weekly kind of hacks or stories about my clients and how the results that they're bringing to their life. So I kind of share there. If they want to engage with me also on, social media, it's Meghana Kamdar on Instagram or on Facebook as well. You could tell them, I heard you on Dr. Amita's show. Would
Yeah.
love to hear your thoughts, your
Uh-huh.
comments, and we can always connect more from there.
Great. You have given us so much to think about, and I'm so grateful for our conversation today. I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to talk to Meghna. Thank you for,
Yay, same
you
here.
know, coming on all the way from Portugal. And I know, the time difference is tricky. So thank you. Next week, we will be talking with Karuna Kara, a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, about South Asians, food, and diet. Stay tuned.
Ooh, thanks,
Awesome.
Amanda.